Wiideman with Jeremy and Hansel. Today we're drinking from this new coffee shop called Enchanted. So we'll have some pictures and then we'll check it out. And I asked the question, if you go to Enchanted, does a unicorn greet you at the door when you come in? Because this is a really cool name.
I really hope so. What are we drinking?
These are mochas.
Cheers, guys.
Can't go wrong with mocha. Alright, oftentimes we get questions from our readers and our YouTube followers around fundamental things about what you can do for SEO. And I think one of the most important things gets neglected a lot, and that's the weekly maintenance. And one of the questions that came up is, how important is Google Search Console, formerly known as Google Webmaster Tools, toward your SEO efforts? And I think it's a great question, but it plays into a bigger picture about what you could be doing every week to be monitoring and improving your SEO. I know working for some large companies, you get so caught up in the day-to-day of how you manage your search that you forget about some things that are really kind of simple and fundamental, like just checking your Google Search Console dashboard. I think it's important to spend at least 15 minutes every week, whether it's your web developer or the CMO, whoever has to do it, and just log in to your Google Search Console to see what Google says about what's going on your website. Look at your traffic trend, look at your broken links, look at your security issues or manual actions if you've done some link building in the past, or even if a competitor might be doing something against you. Pay attention to those things for a few minutes every week so that you're not caught by surprise and all of a sudden the phone stops ringing. It's so important to just spend those few minutes every week. So in the last couple of days, Google's been rolling out a new Google Search Console. I'm not sure I really like it yet.
Hi, this is Steve Wiideman. I'm going to do a quick 5-minute walkthrough of the difference between the new Google Search Console and the legacy Google Search Console. This is the free tool that Google gives you to help improve your website's performance in search results and just in general as a webmaster. It's a great tool. It's been around for years. In fact, historically, it used to be called Google Webmaster Tools. You can even see the old URL is google.com/webmastertools. The new URL, however, looks like it's on a new server and it's on search.google.com. You'll notice some very simple change differences between the two. The first is that there's not much of a menu on the current new beta version. You've got your status and then a couple little dashboards and then a sitemaps link. There's nothing on the sitemaps link other than a URL to submit to and a list of what's been submitted. On the old Google Search Console, there's a number of different menu items, many of which are gone completely. Some of the items have moved into a drill down, and we'll go through those here in a moment. So, looking at the new site, let's do a side-by-side comparison. Let's look at what's old and what was moved over and what's not. In the first one, you can see that there's a messages section. In fact, on the dashboard itself, you can see crawl errors, analytics, and sitemaps. That's pretty much the same as what you have here. You have your analytics up here, you've got your crawl issues over here, but instead of this third one over here, instead of sitemaps, you've got this enhancements, and sitemaps is now its own little section. But there's a messages area. There's no messages area on the new dashboard. There's nothing here. There's help and submit feedback and go back to old version. But there's nothing else. There's no other links to see any sort of messages. This hamburger up here just collapses the menu that you see on the left. So the hope is that they actually build this out and have more helpful information here. As we continue to go down the list, you can see there's structured data, rich cards, data highlighter, HTML improvements, and accelerated mobile pages. Now, the accelerated mobile pages are now part of the current platform. You look at this AMP, accelerated mobile pages thing. It says get started with AMP, and then you can go down to the bottom, and if there were AMP, it would be here. I had another account that I was doing the first version of this video with, but there was too much private data, so I picked a site that's barely even online right now, not doing any marketing. So I figured let's just throw one out so we don't get in trouble by sharing data. So looking at this though, again, down here is where you would find the list of AMP recommendations. Structured data, rich cards, data highlighter, and HTML improvements are all gone. And these are all features that we used to help Google understand the information on our site, to help them show rich information within search results, to be able to highlight what is data and what is just HTML. And then, of course, looking at titles and meta descriptions. In HTML improvements, if there's duplicate titles, duplicate descriptions, titles that are too short, descriptions that are too short, all of those recommendations are completely gone. Going to search traffic, you can look at search analytics and understand the traffic that's coming to your site from Google. The keywords, the search terms that are no longer available in Google Analytics because of their HTTPS Everywhere privacy initiative. So that's gone now. You can't really see that. So you can get into the search terms. Again, let's go back up to performance. And in performance, you can actually look at queries. You can look at pages. You can look at the countries, devices, and then you can filter between all of those different attributes. So I can choose, one or more, and really drill in and look at information. I like this. This information is also available in Google Analytics as Search Console Insights, but it's separate from their keyword data, which, as you'll probably see if you log into Google Analytics, is buried in a not provided keyword. So it's very hard to get the information that you want around what somebody actually searched. You can marry the two and get a little bit closer to what they searched, but whole different world. So AMP pages are here, data's gone, rich cards are gone, highlighters gone, HTML improvements gone, accelerated mobile pages still there in its own little section. Search analytics is here, as we just looked at, so we can see that's still around, which is good. Links to your site, gone. There's no more links to your site options. You can't drill in and see how many people are linking to your website anymore. Let's go back to the dashboard and look at index coverage. So here you can see some of the technical recommendations that they make. These aren't HTML improvements. Again, this is crawl errors, which we'll get into here in a second. Internal links and links to your site are gone. Manual actions are gone. So if you were building links in a way that Google seems or deems as suspicious or trying to game search results, they're going to penalize you. You don't know now. That's gone. Fortunately, the old version of Search Console is still around, but if they do decide to move to this version and not carry over those items, we won't know if there's been a manual penalty against us anymore. International targeting is also gone. This particular site doesn't need it, but if it were here, it would tell you what it found and whether there were issues or errors. There's no international. Mobile usability, I understand why this one went away. There are a lot of really good tools out there, like the Think with Google. So you can use Think with Google and see if there's any issues here. Poolpro.com is an example. It'll run and it'll tell you if there's any problems. And I think that's much better than Search Console, but let's link it, right? At least have it there as a tool set to use to improve your website. Gone. Index and all the data here around crawl problems can be found within the actual index coverage. Blocked resources, again, should be down here, hopefully. Remove URLs is gone. There's no way to remove a URL now. That feature, that particular tool is no longer available in the new version. Crawl errors, still there. We can actually drill in and see where some of the crawl errors are. Here's 404 errors and a list of links that have a 404 error. That's fantastic. I love that they kept that. Crawl stats is gone, so we don't really know how often Google is crawling our site anymore. It seems like that information is no longer available to us. You have to look at your crawl logs or figure out a way to extract it yourself. Fetch is Google, one of our favorite tools to see the difference between what users see and what Google sees is gone. The button to click to say, please add this URL to Google's index, request indexing, right? That feature is gone. So we don't have the ability to do that fetch any longer. You can still manually submit your sites. Submit site to Google. You can do this. It's really easy, and there'll be a nice little form here that you can use, but they're not going to tell you any information about that URL or show you a fetch and render of the page as they see it. The robots.txt text tester is also gone in the new version of Search Console. Sitemaps is still there, but to get to the errors, you have to go down a different path. So going back to the dashboard up here, we click on sitemaps in the nav, You can submit the sitemap and you can see status codes here and look at some of the analytics, or you can go back to status, go to your index coverage, go to all known pages, and actually drill into the XML sitemap here, which is pretty neat. I mean, a little redundant, but hey, why not? As long as it's still there, right? URL parameters and telling Google where you don't want them crawling and where you do. And there's no examples in this particular one, but if there were any problems, we would be able to see all of those listed here and tell them where to go and where not to go. Security issues, there's a section for that. If there were any, it would be here. It is gone. There's no way for us to submit anything to Google in this dashboard. It's just some simple analytics. It's very, very scaled down. All of the same data points for search analytics and for crawl errors, maybe a little bit more on the crawl error side, but everything else, every other feature is gone and no longer available. So let's hope they start porting those other things over. The list of web tools I'd mentioned would be a great add-on here for other Google developer tools you could experiment with. So that's my review of Google Search Console. Again, it is not looking good for us webmasters if they leave it as is. Hopefully they'll port the rest of the tools over, and when they do, we'll do a video about it.
So your takeaways today, here's some things that I strongly recommend that you do on a weekly basis beyond just looking at your Google Search Console. One, back up the search terms report. As you know, Google only gives you a limited range of keywords to work with in Search Console. The new one's supposed to give you more time. You never can guarantee it, so I back it up every month. Make sure you have a backup of those search terms. So next year, you can look at what search terms are driving traffic. Because you know, in Google Analytics, there's no keywords anymore. It's all not provided because of their privacy and HTTPS everywhere. So you don't know which keywords actually drove traffic to your website unless you're downloading that Search Console every month. The other thing you want to make sure you're doing is running a security service like Securi, ends with an I, and you can run that every day to make sure that there's no malware or spam or problems on your website. You also want to look at your Ahrefs report, your backlinks report, to make sure every week that it's a clean profile and there's no negative links that are pointing to or over optimized anchor text with keywords in them. Take a look at the link report every week. Take a look at your Google Search Console. If you have a crawler like Screaming Frog or Write or Deep Crawl or Spotify, you'll want to use that and run it every week to make sure there's no crawl errors or redirection issues or problems with your website. These activities are automatic and you get a report every week. So I would take the few minutes every week, 15 minutes or less, to look at those reports to make sure that you're sustaining your SEO. Anyway, hope you have a great week. This is Steve Wiideman from Wiideman Consulting Group. We'll see you soon.